Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we get more dressing room unrest, a little bit of a transfer blow around a key Ten Hag target, as well as it being match day, lots to get into. And I just want to say from the very start, team leak, there is a team that's out there for the game tonight. I'm not going to disclose it. I haven't actually asked for it. I know that there is a team out there and it is a bit of a bit of a surprise that it's coming out so early, but we'll discuss that of course as well, but lots to get into this morning, and look, very interested to see what your thoughts are on this. I want to start off talking about Gakpo to Manchester United. Now this is coming in from the Mirror, and effectively, this is a player that Manchester United would like to sign. I think we're all very much aware that Gakpo was a player that Manchester United wanted to sign in the summer. But look, well, let's just start. This is a Sunday morning show, and on a Sunday morning, you do tend to get different bits of information. As you can see, this is coming from the Mirror. Gakpo is desperate. Cody Gakpo, PSV, is having a fantastic season. Cody Gakpo is desperate to come to Manchester, to England. Ten Hag wanted to sign both Gakpo and Antony in the summer, but ran out of money when Ajax cranked up their demands for the Brazilian to 86 million. Now, we've spoken about this many times before, and it is an issue that that Manchester United did want Gakpo and Antony, but of course Manchester United. Don't blame Ajax, don't blame Antony, don't blame Ten Hag, blame Murta, blame Richard Arnold, blame the board. Ridiculous fee that we paid for Antony meant that we couldn't get Gakpo as well, means that the money's run out. Even if Antony ends up being a superstar at Manchester United, we overpaid. I like Antony, and I don't think some people can screw their head on for this. I like Antony. I think he's a really good player. But we overpaid massively. You don't pay £86 million on an Ajax winger. You just don't do it. We should have paid about 60 top. We overpaid, and it's messed up the ability to be able to bring anybody else in. So Ten Hag, obviously wanted him, didn't get him, and Ten Hag still wants to take Cody Gakpo to Manchester United, but accepts that a January deal is unlikely. Leeds have agreed personal terms with Gakpo, and they're now in talks with PSV about their 30 million valuation, are now in pole position to land him. Now, this is something that we've seen for quite a while with Gakpo. There was a lot of interest in Gakpo. From other clubs, essentially other clubs who. Leeds, Southampton, and Leeds have actually gone as far as completing personal terms with Gakpo as well. So it's looking like Gakpo is going to move in January, and it's looking, I mean, this is the problem that you face as well, that it's not just about Man United, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool anymore. Teams like Everton, Leeds, Southampton, they've got enough revenue from being in the Premier League to go and spend £40 million on a player. So Gakpo wants to come and play in the Premier League. Leeds were very close to getting him in August. They're going to go back in January. This is a player that Eric Ten Hag wants. And it goes back to what we were talking about yesterday morning as well. Ten Hag would let Ronaldo go. Ronaldo wants to go, but United won't free up the funds for him to let Ronaldo go and bring Gakpo in. So United end up stagnating. We're like a pond, we are. Manchester United is like a pond. Have you ever looked at a pond in the heat of summer? Gets that green stuff on and it stagnates and it smells. Rivers that flow don't stagnate. They don't get that green algae on the top. They don't smell because the water's flowing all the time. It's fast flowing, it's moving all the time. United's like a pond in the summer. We stagnate. The water might be pure when you pour in the Evian, but it will stagnate. It will start to smell because we stand still like a pond. And everybody else is like a river. They're running through. The water doesn't stagnate. It keeps flowing. And Manchester United just don't do that. And I think that, you know, I wasn't going to start off with the Gakpo story, but obviously it's come out. We do want Gakpo. Well, Ten Hag does want Gakpo, and he'd love to come to Manchester United. But the cold, harsh fact is we don't have the money to buy him in January, and other clubs do. Leeds are in a better position than us, and maybe a couple of other clubs. So how does Ten Hag build this team when they won't give him the tools to do it? I don't know. I don't know how he does. And we'll end up keeping an unhappy Ronaldo until May, because that's what United think is the best business decision for their bank account. So, look, I think Gakpo is one of the most exciting players in the Eredivisie at the moment. I think if you had Gakpo, Antony, Sancho, Rashford, Martial, you'd have a 5 that you can work with. Unfortunately, I'd be very, very surprised if we can do this. Maybe they'll find the money for it because it's certainly a player he wanted. But if you want to know the answer, why United won't be buying Gakpo in January, if we don't buy Gakpo in January, the simple answer is Glazers, Arnold, Murta just absolutely messed this summer up. They overpaid on players and they were desperate, and it's not enough. I always think, like, if you are this lunchtime looking to make a chicken roast dinner for your family, welcome to Members Club, Ashley. If you're looking to make a chicken roast dinner for your family, right, and you need potatoes, chicken, vegetables, gravy, right, you go to the shop, you buy the chicken, but you don't have enough to buy the potatoes and the vegetable because you bought a really expensive chicken, people are going to be disappointed at the dinner table. United spent loads of money on Antony and they want us all to pat him on the back. Well done. Yeah, he's a great player, but it's not going to complete the plate, is it? If you've got £200 million to build a team, don't spend most of it on not enough players. And that's basically what United have done. United is a pond and Arsenal the ocean from the Avatar sequel. So Zane, thank you very much for that, Zane. Big game for you today as well. Of course, it's a big game for Manchester United today as well. So look, that's the latest on Cody Gakpo. It's looking very, very unlikely that Manchester United are going to sign him. Other clubs have got the money to move for him in January, and Manchester United do not expect that to happen. The Mirror have been very good in relation to Ten Hag this last 6 months, and as I say, Gakpo desperate to come to Manchester United. This is from the Mirror. Ten Hag wants to sign him, wanted him in the summer, in fact, but United spent too much money on Antony and there was no money left. Ten Hag still wants Gakpo at Manchester United, but accepts that a January deal is unlikely. Leeds have agreed personal terms. They are now in talks with PSV about the 30 million valuation and are now in pole position to land him. I mean, bloody hell. Bloody hell. Bloody hell. I mean, Manchester United can't find 30 million quid to buy a player that we need and that Ten Hag wants. 30 million quid. It's the same as last summer, isn't it? You know, Ranić needed a couple of players. No, we're going to wait till the summer. Ten Hag needs a striker, 30 million quid. We'll wait till the summer. That works really well, doesn't it? It's not like there isn't evidence that if you bring a player in January, it makes a big difference. Diaz, Liverpool, made a big difference last January. Bruno, a couple of years ago, came in January, made a big difference. Kulusevski to Spurs in January made a big difference. It's like United think that January transfer window, it doesn't matter. Of course it bloody matters. We don't want to pay 20 million to sign Haaland, for which manager wanted. Years later, we're going to make the same mistake, says Savish. Dalot's situation worries me. Any updates on that, says Sultan. Deleu's situation's fine, to be honest with you. There is an added year on there, so you know it should be absolutely fine with him. I wouldn't be too worried about that. But just going back to what Savesh said there, I do actually believe you're right, Savesh. I do actually believe that with Gakpo, it's going to be another player that we don't get that goes somewhere else and is really good. And there's countless of players like that. There's countless players United could have got hold of and they don't get hold of. And it's never really for any other reason than saving money. That's the only reason we won't do it. There was a very interesting point, and I would put this to you. Manchester United didn't buy Erling Haaland because they didn't want to pay the money and put a release clause in place. In hindsight, if we'd bought Haaland 3 years ago and he'd left to Real Madrid last summer, would it have been worth it for those 3 years of Haaland? I think it probably would have been. But United will go, no, it wasn't worth it. We made the right decision and now he's banging goals in for Man City. We would have won two ways. One, we'd have got Haaland for 3 years, which would have made us a better team. And then two, he'd now be going to Real Madrid instead of Manchester City and wouldn't be in the Premier League. So, yeah, look, Arsenal had the opportunity to buy Ronaldo before we did from Sporting Lisbon. Would have been a different path for everybody, wouldn't it? So it's all if, buts, and maybes. But we should have gone for him. Hi, Mark. Just seen another report linking United with McGinn. Thoughts, says Joe Beatty. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I thought my thoughts are on that, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, Jim White says he's got a leaked team here of De Gea, Shaw, Martinez, Maguire, Delhomme. Yeah, you're wrong, mate. As soon as you mention Harry Maguire, you're completely wrong. Now, there is a leaked team this morning, and I want to just talk about this next section now. So, look, there has been some team leaks. There has been some dressing room unrest this week. But it's not as bad as people think it is. It's certainly not anything to get raged about. So basically, a couple of stories coming out in the UK from the Sunday morning papers today saying that some United players are really unhappy about Ten Hag letting Harry Maguire go on holiday to Portugal. Basically, Harry Maguire spent the last week in Portugal, recuperation from injury, and to get his head right. And Ten Hag has apparently authorised this. This has upset some players because Ten Hag up until now has made a big point of if you're injured, you travel with the team, you train at Carrington to keep that squad unity. So some players are apparently unhappy that the team captain is off on holiday in Portugal when United have just lost the Manchester derby and everyone needs to be in it together. I've got to be honest, so what? So what? I really do not. Sir Alex Ferguson did this with Wayne Rooney 1 December when we had a massive season and he let him go off on that, have a couple of breaks. Now, Harry Maguire's not Wayne Rooney, but I'm not going to moan about a player being allowed to go and have a break for a few days when they're injured after what was a very traumatic international break. Now, one thing I would say is I don't think Man United fans have been that bad on Harry Maguire. He's been on the bench for a month. He wasn't being spoken about before the international break. The English press built it into something massive. He had a bad game for England against Germany and he got a load of stick. But I think United fans with Maguire are pretty much the same as what they've been like with Luke Shaw. You're out the team, wait for your chance and take your chance. If Harry Maguire's in a bad space because of his injury and what's gone on with England, I don't really have a problem. Let Eric Ten Hag manage the team. If he thinks that Harry Maguire needs a break, and that reset might help him. You know, going away, being away from football for a week, he's injured, get your head right. I think he's took a physio with him. I think he's back today. I don't really have a problem with that. And if other players have got a problem with that, who are the players who've got a problem with it? I guarantee you it's not players who are in the first team. So people will moan. Maybe it's another player who's injured who's not been allowed to have a holiday. I don't know. I don't really care. But the bottom line is Eric Ten Hag is the manager, and if he's made that decision, he's made that decision. Focus on the dressing room and not buying players, says Vindaloo. And United have more leaks than the Old Trafford roof, says James. And then in the same article, it says that on Monday there was a lot of players that had arguments with each other. Basically, but again, it's orchestrated by Ten Hag. He wanted this meeting on Monday after the Manchester derby, and he wanted each player to have their say on what they think went wrong and talk about the mistakes. And apparently some players were like, well, it wasn't my fault, I didn't have any cover from this player, and then there was some falling out. Again, it's orchestrated by Ten Hag. So yeah, there's a bit of dressing room unrest. I think you could acknowledge that because we know there was a meeting on Monday, but it's not really something that Ten Hag's not involved in or orchestrating. The dressing room leaks you don't want is what you saw with Solskjaer and what you saw with Rangnick, where the managers are losing control because players are leaking behind their backs. I don't have a problem with the fact that players fell out on Monday. They should bloody well be falling out on Monday after that Manchester derby. And I don't really have a problem with players moaning about Harry Maguire being given a holiday if they have moaned, because both of those things are orchestrated by Ten Hag. He's let Maguire go on holiday and he's told them to argue with each other after the Manchester derby. These things are completely normal. So I don't mind those sort of things because it doesn't undermine the manager and it doesn't undermine his control. He is in control of that team at the moment. If he says to two players who are arguing with each other, fine, you've had your say, right, put it behind you, which I'm sure is what's happened, but at least they vent their frustrations. The worst type of dressing room is the one where nothing like that gets said, where the manager's just, taking control and saying this is what happened, and it breeds contempt between players. So I don't really have a problem. The big thing is what happens today. How do they deliver today? That's what I'm looking forward to see. How do Manchester United deliver today in a game of this magnitude? Because that's where it's going to really matter. How do Manchester United deliver today? Now, it's going to be really difficult. I've done my preview. Now, there is a bit of a team leak. I've purposely swerved it. I don't want to see it. All I've heard is it's going to make the fans quite happy what the team is tonight. Now, some people will say, well, it's just a joke and this, that and the other. I don't know whether this is new or whether it's always been the case. And I don't know whether it's just that, information's far more achievable now. But what I do know is that it's not just Manchester United this is happening with. I know 4 Premier League clubs in the last 2 weeks where I've been told of the team the night before, and lo and behold, it has happened absolutely bang on. So it's not just a Manchester United thing, and I think what it ultimately probably comes down to is that managers have to tell their team that what the team is the night before, And so many players have access to these sort of things now. And on the evening, they're probably messaging their mates saying, I'm not starting him on the bench. And, they're probably just giving information out. I think it's just very, very difficult for governments to keep things top secret. So it's very, very difficult for sports teams to keep it difficult. So teams do leak very, very early. It's not ideal, but I think a lot of it's just down to technology. If you're the manager of Chelsea and you're playing Wolves on Saturday at 3:00, and you've got to tell your players on Friday night who's playing, it only takes one player to message somebody when they're in the hotel room, and that's going to get out, isn't it? So I think it's becoming more and more of a problem that you can't really get a tactical advantage anymore unless you're willing to change your team very, very late. And does it make a massive amount of difference? I haven't seen this leaked team, and I'm sure it's probably correct, but I would guess that the leaked team that's out there is pretty much the team I picked in the preview on yesterday morning, which is De Gea, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, Antony, Martial, Rashford. I think it will be there or thereabouts. We may get a bigger shock. I mean, look, I don't know whether Varane's fit. I know he was meant to be back in training yesterday. We may get Lindelof at centre-back, I suppose, if Varane's not fit. And we might... I just don't see how we see anything else other than that front six. I don't think Ronaldo will start. I'll be stunned if Sancho starts, and I can't see McTominay starting. So I think the team is pretty much going to pick itself, with Shaw coming in for Malacia, Rashford coming in for Sancho, Martial coming in up front, and Varane coming back, and Casemiro for McTominay. So I think that will pretty much be the team. Mark, you need to redo your Liverpool-Arsenal combined 11. It should not be based on current form and reputation. Of course it should, Zane. And arguments in the dressing room is normal. Hold each other accountable, healthier as a team, in my opinion, says Reagan. Thank you very much for that. Eriksen should be starting as well. Was a weird experience having my dad listen to you on TalkSport the other day when he didn't know who you are, says Marching on TV. I really enjoyed my TalkSport show last night, actually. It was really good. Really did enjoy it. Do a poll on Haaland goals for the season. We're not a Man City channel. I'm bored of talking about Haaland. I spent most of my hour and a half on TalkSport talking about Erling Haaland last night, who is a fantastic player. But Dale's gone back to Gakpo, saying he's a fantastic player. Look, I'm not surprised about this. I'm not surprised about this story this morning that Ten Hag wants Gakpo, but United won't get him because they don't want to spend in January because they've overspent in the summer. So someone like Leeds will just come in and buy him. That's not how you... What I would say here is, right, Ten Hag wants Gakpo. He's a young player that can become a really good player, and Ten Hag wants him at United, and we do need another attacking option. United don't want to spend 30 million on him because they've spent too much on Antony, right? It's not acceptable, but we know that's probably the situation. Leeds swoop in and buy Gakpo, or someone else buys him in January, yeah? And United don't get him. How does that help Ten Hag develop Man United? How does that help Manchester United compete or close the gap on the teams above us? Do you think for 1 minute, if Pep Guardiola or Graham Potter wanted Gakpo in January, do you think Man City or Chelsea would go, I know you really want him, but we spent quite a lot in the summer, and we know we need a striker, but we'd rather not spend in January. I know a club smaller than us is going to take him, but I'm sure you understand that, we've got dividends we've got to pay. We don't really like spending that much money when we've got to pay ourselves dividends. So I'm sure you'll understand. Of course, Man City and Chelsea aren't going to do that. Why is it acceptable? Why has it become the standard acceptable, oh, well, it is what it is? I mean, I even see journalists going, well, Ten Hag can't really complain. He's had over £200 million spent on him in the summer. And I'm like, what level of idiot are you then? Do you just go, United spent 250 million in the summer so they can't spend anything else? You've got to analyse the spend. Ten Hag wasn't driving around Europe with a checkbook writing the checks. We should have got Gakpo, because if Gakpo's available for 35 million, we should have bought him in the summer. The money was there. They've just messed it up. I can find the money for Gakpo in 20 seconds, right? Antony, we spent, 80 million on him? That's 20 million too much. So that's 20 straight away. Casemiro, I think we spent 10 million too much. I think we should have got him for 50. That's 30 million. Martinez, we definitely spent 10 million too much on him. That's 40 million. So there you go. Straight away, you've got it. You got the money. And look, some people might say we spent 30 million too much on Anthony. So you can't say Ten Hag can't have Gakpo because he's already had 200 and something million. That's what an idiot rival says. We overspent in the summer. We overspent badly, and now they're saying we can't afford Gakpo. How frustrating is that as a United fan, as Eric Ten Hag, that you want a player but you can't get them because the board overpaid on players? Hold on a minute. So I can't get the player that I think is important to the rebuild of this club to keep me in a job and take this club where it needs to be. I can't get that player because you're shit at your job. So I'll carry on being competent at my job, trying to turn this ridiculously bad squad into a good team without the players that I really, really want, whilst you continue to do a bad job. And ultimately, call it what it is. That is what it is. I refuse to sit here and say, well, Ten Hag can't moan because he's had over £200 million spent on him. No, of course he can bloody well moan because we overpaid on players. You need to be efficient. You need to be efficient. And it's amazing, isn't it? Manchester City have got all that money and somehow they're still able to get people at a good price. Had we been competent in the summer and gone brave in June, we could have got Anthony and Gakpo for 80 million. 100%, Charlie. Mark, how high do you think Anthony's ceiling is? Also, Bella Kotchup at Southampton is a future top 6 player. Yeah, love him. I think he's great, Jag. I really like Bella Kotchup. I think he'll be a Liverpool player next summer because they seem to get Southampton players. But no, I think he's really good. Anthony's ceiling. Look, I think Anthony's really exciting. I really like him. I've got to be honest. I don't think he'll fulfil that price tag. I don't, because I think to fulfill a price tag of 80 million quid, you've got to go and be one of the best players in the world. I never thought Anthony was going to be one of the best players in the world. I want him at United. I think he's going to be a really good player, but I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think his ceiling is to go and be a Mo Salah, which is what we're basically hoping he is going to be. I hope he can be that. They're both left-footed and they're both right wingers, but I don't think he's got that. I don't think we were buying that level of... This is what I mean. I think we overpaid. I don't think when we bought... I'll be honest. When we bought Sancho... If you talk about the Sancho deal and the Anthony deal, when we bought Sancho, I thought he had the higher ceiling. Anthony, I just really wanted him as an exciting player. And I'll be honest. I wanted Anthony, but I would have valued at 50 million. So when you buy a £50 million winger... It's different to buying an £80 million winger. When you buy an £80 million winger, you're expecting to get one of the world's best players. I never thought Anthony was that. I thought he was an exciting young winger that we were going to get for a reasonable price that could end up being somebody like, I don't know, just looking at wingers of the past, like a Kanchelskis or a Nani or someone like that. Somebody who's really, really good and brings a lot to the team. I didn't think we were getting, Cristiano Ronaldo or someone like that, or a Mo Salah or something like that. So I think the price tag will be difficult for him to live up to. But I still think it'll be a good signing. I think he's a good player. I just think we overpaid. And again, some people won't be able to get their head around that because they'll go, oh, you're just hating on Anthony, which I'm absolutely not. I wanted Anthony. I spoke about Anthony way before anybody else did because we had good information coming in on June the 10th that he was coming from Brazil. So... I do like him, but we've definitely overpaid. And of course, it's messed up the ability to do other deals. Have you heard Barcelona preparing a bid for Dalot, says Glenn? While United are not in the top 4, if we've got decent players, bigger clubs will come in for our players. We're lucky that that's not happened more over the last few years, and that's probably because we haven't had many good players. With Ronaldo leaving and Donny van der Beek and a few others, Cody is effectively self-funded. Club doesn't make sense, says Michael. Well, mate, the problem is you make a very good point, Michael. If you sold Donny and Ronaldo in January, that would give you the money to buy Gakpo. That's maybe what a competent club would look to do. Who's buying Donny van der Beek on his wages and who's buying Ronaldo on his wages? Nobody. So we can't even do that. I like your shows, Mark. You're open-minded and you value the fans from everywhere, not only the ones from Manchester. Carry on, says Furhat. Thank you very much. It's a nice chat there. Don't forget, today we have got the match, Manchester United against Everton at Goodison Park. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff today. I can't remember why that's happening. It's a bit weird, but it's a 7 o'clock kickoff. So if you want to know how my day is going to go, I'm going to go and have a... No. I'm live on That's Football at 4 o'clock. I'm watching Liverpool's trip to Arsenal. And then during that game, I will come over to United Stand for 6 o'clock for the team news, and then obviously keep watching the Arsenal-Liverpool game whilst on the United Stand. So starting off on That's Football at 4, move over to here for 6, and then obviously all the way through till full time, which would be about 9:30. So yeah, get yourself a nice big lunch. I think I'm going to have a nice big roast beef lunch and get some substance and stamina in for an early evening start right through till late evening. But yeah, 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm excited. I sit here in front of you on a Sunday morning, and I just don't know what mood I'm going to be in at 9:30 tonight when that game is over. I just don't know. 9 o'clock, sorry, 7 o'clock kickoff, isn't it? I just don't know what mood I'm going to be in tonight at 9 o'clock. Do you? I think there's hope, as there always is, but as we know with United, they might just not turn up again, and we might get beat 2 or 3-0. I genuinely don't know what mood I'm going to be in at 9 o'clock tonight. I don't know. I think it's so unpredictable. We might see a bounce back. We might see the same old crap. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, it's a big game that we have to go and win, really. But as I said, I'm not worried about the dressing room issues. I'm not worried about Ten Hag letting Maguire go on holiday. I think it's probably a good move. I'm not worried about people falling out last Monday because Ten Hag wanted them to. I think after that performance last week in the Manchester derby a week ago, there has to be some falling out. There has to be some, egos have to be trodden on, basically. You can't put in a performance like last week and not have it exposed. And look, for example, if Martinez is getting some stick because of one of the goals, and he says it's because of McTominay and Eriksen not picking up the runners, and then McTominay and Eriksen have a go at Martinez and he has a go back, what's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? I don't really see the problem with it. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. Anyway, look, that's the morning show. We are going to be live at 6 o'clock tonight, so make sure you tune in. Looking forward to it. And I think we've got a road trip going up this afternoon. And of course, if you want to watch Arsenal versus Liverpool, I'll be doing a watch along from 4 o'clock. It's a big game tonight, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit.